Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony C. hosting. This is the Hour of Politics, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Today is Tuesday, and of course, this is the Hour of Politics with me, Anthony C., your host. This is, again, Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. In this edition of the Hour of Politics, we have a special guest joining us from all the way Great Britain. That is Anthony Axe W. Jackson Jr. He is our guest here at Focus on Liberia. Also in studio is Benjamin Kofa Fanier, a 2023 presidential hopeful, but he's here to play the role of an analyst in this edition of the Hour of Politics. Our topic, the battle for the soul of the Liberty Party. That is the opposition Liberty Party. As many of you may be aware, the founding members or some founding members of the Liberty Party are calling for the resignation or removal of the now newly elected chairman, Musa Hassan Bilete, for reasons of questionable character against his person. Folks, welcome. Hit the share button. Let's get started. At this time, let me welcome my guest, Anthony Axe Jackson. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Focus on Liberia. My brother, I'm happy to have you.
Oh, thank you very kindly. It's a good pleasure having me. And I want to applaud you because I think the work you're doing is appreciated by Liberians all across the globe, and even our foreign partners. People follow these, online chat where they can pick up, the training development in Liberia. So I'm very humble to be here on this very elaborate platform, brother. Very humble. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much. That is Mr. Jackson. A little bit about our guest, Mr. Jackson. He served as Liberia's permanent representative to the Maritime. That's the International Maritime Organization. He was Liberia permanent representative there, and he started that portfolio in September of 2016 up to the time he got in a little bit of a fight with the CDC government. But prior to that, he served as Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. And he started that all portfolio there from 2011 to 2016. He was there for 5 years. Before that, he served as Assistant Minister for Information Service at that very Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. That was from 2010 to 2012. He is a graduate of the University of Liberia. He got a Bachelor of Law, that is LLB. Also, he also studied Economics and Political Science. I remember I was on the University of Liberia when he was there as a student. I saw the debate, and this brother will always wear his suspender. So let me ask you, my man, what is this with this suspender and your bow tie? Tell us about that, my man.
I mean, it's my own way of just standing up from the crowd. That's all. There's nothing much behind. You just want to stand at what everybody's doing. That's all.
All right. Thank you again. We are happy to have you. As I said earlier, we also have with us Benjamin Kofa Fanier. Kofa is a political pundit. He's a political propagator. He's an analyst as well. He's politically active in the politics of Liberia. Kofa is playing the role of an analyst. He is a 2023 presidential hopeful. He said he's going to win it all. I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's here. Welcome.
Well, I want to say thank you, Mr. Anthony C. I also want to say welcome and thank you to our guest, Mr. Jackson. I appreciate your platform. I want to say this is one of the most stable and dynamic platform. I really like being here. I want to say hello to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I look forward to a positive and very civil dialogue, and I'm just happy to be here. Looking forward to all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Well, folks, let's get to it here and focus on Liberia in this edition of the Hour of Politics. As I said earlier, our topic is the battle for the soul of the Liberty Party. The Liberty Party just elected a new chairman in person of Hassan Belite, but some founding members of the Liberty Party are saying it's not going to happen because that guy does not have the moral rectitude to serve as chairman of a party they see as one of Liberia's best political party in terms of integrity. And so they are taking actions. They are calling for his removal. Mr. Jackson is one of those who penned the letter, yet is the release that we are showing to you, in which these former founding members of the Liberty Party are calling for the removal of Hassan Belite. As you can see here, Mr. Jackson's signature is here. He is the founding member of the opposition Liberty Party, and that is why we reached out to Mr. Jackson, because we read the press release. We said, whoa, this is news. We must talk about it, because the fight against corruption is something everybody should be part of, and Focus on Liberia must be part of the conversation and bring in those who are in the forefront of waving that anti-graft flag. Mr. Jackson is comfortably seated here, so let's get to it. Mr. Jackson, so you wrote this press release, and then you are saying this guy should be removed, but what we're going to do, there are many people that hear the name Liberty Party. So let's go into a little bit of the history of the Liberty Party. Tell me, what is the Liberty Party and how is it different from any other political party in Liberia?
The Liberty Party has been run. The processes leading to establishing the Liberty Party started as far back as 2002. A group of young university students, most were senior students at the time in Liberia. They have what Chancellor Bronson challenged the Taylor regime in the Senate. They have come to admire something about him. So when the conflict ensued between Chancellor Bronson and the Taylor regime at the free Liberia, we thought it was important to organize ourselves and then encouraging to some participate in the body policy. But more than that, we sought to identify people who had good moral standing that to form part of this movement. So we organized first the Friends of Bronson. Over time, the Friends of Bronson metamorphosed into the Liberty Party, that became the full-fledged political party in 2005. And so we were able to run this campaign, we established ourselves all across Nigeria into the political competition. And the party came to existence. But the party was basically because from some of our related leaders. So many among them were very important, all right? And so it was because of the way the chancellor saw things, the way he wanted to function like here in the sacrifice that he was offered. So we had these ancient leaders working around the house, every house to establish the Liberty Party. Established on the payload of reconciliation, yes, a reform, and so that's the whole setup of the Liberty Party.
Oh, all right. And that is enough. And I want to know also, Anthony Jackson, have all leaders who have served in the Liberty Party come to the Liberty Party leadership with clean records, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, if the question is clean record, I don't know what you're trying to talk about, but there is an established precedent in the that was serving a position of rank or high ranking position in party. If you are involved with any quote unquote corruption accusation, or if you are involved in the work of accusation, you have asked to basically choose yourself or relinquish whatever position, go play your name. So that precedent was carried out in the case of Mr. Israel Akinshai. Mr. Israel Akinshai, our good friend, serving as chair of the Liberty Party. He had an incident with the minister, and you know, that was not very fine because he's not here. I don't want to get into details. They asked him to step aside with the entire, looking to the fore and step aside. And then we had the same Madam Clary who I mentioned, or who will be mentioned later on, stepped in and served as acting chair then. Then we also had a situation with our friend called Ben Stan, who was involved in taking some gains from the community of Banners. That law almost became a scandal. He was also asked to step aside, also did. And so we do not see why the issue of the military stepping aside is becoming an issue of a major conversation. The stability needed to have just done that because all the Hilabadi involving around it. The Special Vanguard Convention took place.
We'll get to the convention, Anthony Jackson. And so what I just listened to you are saying that, well, you may not want to pour your neck on the chopping board, that all other leaders who have served the Liberty Party have come in with clean record, but you can speak to the fact that whenever something came up concerning their character, raising concern and bringing a cloud, they will be asked to step aside, and they did. That is what you are ready to say. So is that the reason why you are also saying it happened in the case of Israel Akinsanya, it happened in the case of Ben Savi, and so it should be done to what his name, Mr. Ability?
Yes.
All right.
So, yes.
Go ahead.
So, yes, basically that's what we're saying. We're saying, look, we have to follow the established precedent. Even in the law, cases are always decided on the basis of precedent, right? There are disasters. And so we basically just saying, let's follow what the established precedent is, and this precedent is accepted across the globe. Anybody serving any major institution around the world, when their need is linked to corruption, the best practice is for them to step aside, clear their needs, and then immediately they can jump. So that's what we're doing. We're just saying, let's conform to the practice in the party, because advocacy, the authenticity of advocacy is what? Consistency. You gotta be consistent. If you're doing the right thing, you gotta do the right thing consistently, right? So that's why we're in the party. That's why we're encouraging the stability to step aside, to remove the stability. So as to bring back credibility, so as to show credibility, integrity to the party, you are going to campaign to the Liberian people. You want the Liberian people to see the party as a party that have people with at least clean moral CV. Not somebody who has a chaotic history, or who has a checkered history, or who has a slap of corruption position hovering over his or her head.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, I want you to do something for me. Kind of leave and log back in. There's something happening to your voice, and I think that either you receive a call before coming in, that what is responsible for your voice. The quality of your voice is compromised. So please leave the studio and come back in, and we'll correct that. We'll wait for you. Let me bring in Mr. Kofa Fania. Hey, Ben, you just listening to Anthony Ashley Jackson. What do you make of what he said so far?
No, I would have loved to pose some questions to him. So, and I don't want to ask him in his absence. So, I wish he can come back as soon as possible, because, when it comes to organization, when it comes to what we call entities,
right,
the highest avenue we can turn to is what they call the Constitution. So, Mr. Jackson, being a lawyer, I mean, that is somebody who is occurrent with the law. I would like to ask him when he comes back if his press release, if they are based on constitutional grounds, or is it just a hunch, or just expectation? Because if we will hold people accountable on what we call expectations, then I don't think that would be right. If there's anything here to hold this individual accountable, it must be based on the constitutionality of that action.
All right, we have Mr. Jackson is back. Mr. Jackson, thanks for doing that for us. I'm sure that's going to correct that. My colleague here, Benjamin Kofa Fanil, said he has a question for you. Ben, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Jackson, thank you again for being here and welcome again. When it comes to institution, one thing I like about this show today, you are a lawyer, so you will educate us a lot about the law. When it comes to institution like the LP, I think the constitution of the LP is the highest avenue we can turn to in terms of interpretation of rules and law within that institution. Is there anything in the constitution that spells out what are the restrictions or the guidelines for people who assume leadership? I'm talking about in terms of morality and ethics. Because if they are not constitutional, provisions, and we have people just assuming, or what I call people have expectations that other people will do the right things, then even though those guys who made the press release, even though they are trying to do the right thing, they might also not have legal basis if they are not backed by the constitution of the organization. So maybe in that light, you can throw a little bit light on the constitution of the LP, and in regards to who can assume leadership of the organization, so we can have a basis.
I mean, every political party has that constitution, bylaws, constitution. So also the Liberia Party has bylaws. If I take you back to what a political party is, that we normally say in Liberia, the political party is a government.
Yeah.
And as a government in looking political parties, we get political leaders or leaders. And these leaders are expected to promote their values. All right? And the values are expected to be promoted as to be the of justice, accountability, accessibility. What I will draw your attention to is there's an established precedent in the leadership that when you have this crowd of people going over the head, and precedent is what God people conduct, even in the law, the things put wherever they before it, they start tables on the basis of truth. It is a practice, it is a custom that is practiced and tradition in the leadership. That tradition has been followed since the establishment of the leadership. If you are holding position of permanent, ranking position in the Liberty Party, you have to operate under the concept of operating beyond suspicion of any kind. In a state of wife, right? You have to operate beyond suspicion of any kind. You don't have to trust the leader working. You don't want to be leader of an institution and you are involved with myriad of corruption allegations or scandals as the case with the stability for death. The stability has not got just one case, the stability has got several cases involving him. And so based upon that, he doesn't stand across properly in the public eye. Matter of fact, even you can deduce from the avalanche of public criticism against his stability. And so that's why we are encouraging him. One of the things that is important to clear on the record here is the processes that usually led to holding the convention for characterized among the most things. All right? The convention was a colleague who was desirous of participating or contesting one of the positions of Secretary General, he has to withdraw from the process and held a press conference. President means in fact to me, because the spokesperson of the party publicly said that look, this process is free practice, and that's not the essence of democracy. The process cannot be free practice. It has to be the process where people will see the practice. Not somebody going in there, throwing their weight around or using disproportionate financial influence, buying the conscience of the people at the convention, And the man went to talk to people. Everybody said, oh no, the man, he's already been engaged. So I'm talking already to the things are winning out here. And he sense that the process of free practice. So he has to withdraw. That's why we said the outcome of the convention was not only undemocratic, but it was a letdown for Liberia's fight against corruption. Because the process produced a gentleman who had myriad of corruption allegations or fresh corruption allegations and scheme of transmissibility was involved with issue of tax evasion. He went on the public radio station, tried to basically fly over the city, temporary with the fact. I could say basically brazenly, he was brazenly lying to the people that that was not it was their own debt, and the government goes to the court and we have to correct this ability in the public that he was being dishonest, and the fact that you should not say of a person, meaning that he was genetically incapable of talking truth, because it is an obvious fact that you cannot deny. The ability did not say that. The government of Liberia in 2010 was failed to take responsibility to code on the issue of tax evasion. You are in the United States. Tax evasion anywhere around the world is not an acceptable conduct. So that's the first thing. Responsibility was also involved with the issue of economic sabotage. All right? Again, that other case is there. There's another case where the $27 million road fund were collecting 25 cents from the jail, and they're supposed to put it in an escrow to do the road repair. Responsibility knew was involved with that. Then you come to the big issue about the people can't get against it. Now, having cataloged all the corrupt conduct taken by this man here, how can anybody intelligently argue that this man should still be at the end of the Liberty Party to serve at this year?
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And yeah, Mr. Jackson, thank you for articulating all the qualms and all the reasons for which you are saying no, he should step aside, should resign, and because it would be like a cloud hanging over the party. We get that. But this is a question many are asking. Where were you, Mr. Jackson? Where were you and your colleagues who penned this heavily worded, strong letter calling for Mr. Ability to resign? The convention that produced Mr. Ability was announced. It was not done in secret. You are a party leader, a party stalwart. I understand you were in the know. You didn't raise all these concerns, and the man was a candidate for the chairmanship of the party. But now that he won, you are crying. Where were you?
For you to speak in a definitive term that I didn't say something, brother, it's interesting.
But we didn't hear you. We didn't hear you loud enough as you are loud now. That was when you should have prevented there. You did not.
No. The thing is, we spoke out. Okay. But the people who are bent on catapulting the ability to the hand of power in the party, just in their ear to the warning signal that we send. Show them that Mr. Ability will not be the chief candidate to represent the party, and that giving the chairmanship to Mr. Ability was going to be a disservice to the venerated memory of Councillor Charles Brunson, somebody who sacrificed or took personal risk to make Liberia a corruption country, who took personal risk to bring about integrity in government. Councillor Brunson has a record of being the first person who had open hearing at the Senate in Liberia. Today, you hear people open hearing at the Senate was Councillor Brunson who initiated that. He initiated that during the terrible days of Mr. Charles Taylor. All right? And so, what we are saying is clean and simple. If you want a better Liberia, and we all believe and agree that Liberia is in a difficult place and they need good repair, you cannot use the wrong tools to carry on any repair work anywhere around the world.
And Mr. Jackson, Mr. Jackson, if I may interject, and I agree with you, and many will agree with you. Waving the anti-graft flag should be everybody's business, because we all know corruption has been the cancer in the Liberian society. So we can't argue with you on that. But here is the thing. There's a saying that, don't blame or don't look where you fell, but look at where you stubbed your toe. You are aware Nyongli Kanga and Darius DeLong provided leadership to the election of Musa Bility. You are raising your accusing fingers at Musa Bility and not DeLong. So the root of the problem is the leadership within the Liberty Party that produced this candidate. Today, he is your chairman. You have no qualms with this individual whatsoever. You are going after Musa Bility because he more like the low-hanging fruit. That's what I see you doing here, your defense.
Yeah, the earnest is we have to be strategic in our efforts to correct the inappropriateness of the ability to come into the leadership of the party. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way to do it, to correct that inappropriateness, is to go at it bit by difficult things. So the first thing is, the stability is going to be the face of the party as we steer. You want to administer the affairs of the party. We need to speak with that. Now, let me say this to you. I've already criticized Madam Nyongli Kanga Lawrence and Mr. Darius DeLong. What Mr. Darius DeLong and Madam Nyongli Kanga Lawrence did at the convention was also unacceptable. That's why we said the outcome of the entire process was undemocratic. Madam Nyongli Kanga Lawrence and Mr. Abraham Darius DeLong, they took their office staffers and made them executive members through the same manipulation. Now, if you took somebody who working in Mr. DeLong's office and gave him executive position in the party, what you encourage there is either first political patronage or nepotism. There are many people in the country who think that nepotism is only giving power to your relatives. No. Nepotism is also giving power to your closest friends. All right? So that they don't be critical on you. And so we have already denounced Madam Nyongli Kanga for taking one of our office boys or one of our office staffers to go on the executive committee. We already denounced Mr. DeLong for taking the office staffer to put them on the team. But we cannot complicate the conversation.
But you are not calling for their resignation. They are the root of this problem you have on your hands. You are not calling for their resignation. Allow me to end, Anthony Jackson. You are not calling for their resignation. You're calling for the resignation of Liberty. Liberty did not produce himself. Thank you. Liberty did not produce himself. Darius DeLong and Nyongli Kanga and other leaders in the party have to produce him.
No, but you see, if you go into Korea, you got to drag at it me, right? Bit by difficult bit. The person who have ruined the public attention, the avalanche of public condemnation coming towards the Liberty Party is coming as a result of Mr. Bility serving as chair because of his checkered history. Mr. Bility needs a synonymous to corruption. You Google Mr. Bility now and corruption, you will see several stories on it. Now, with that making an obvious problem, it is good to deal with the obvious problem. Then you go inside the party and internally clean up the other things that are there.
All right, let me bring in my partner here, Benjamin Kofa-Fane. Ben, go ahead.
Mr. Jackson, I'm very interested in this case because there are wider implications, very wide implications here. From what I gather from you, you are a man of the law. The Liberty Party constitutions the constitution you guys have has no exclusion. That is, let me tell you why I say that. This is the constitution of Liberia. Those who run for rep or whatever offices in Liberia, there are no exclusions. You can be found guilty of a crime. The only exclusion here, it says, is the age and where you reside. So there's nothing that refers to a crime. What I'm trying to say is that these incidents within your organization have wider implications, because what I expect you to be doing now as a man of the law is to be asking for constitutional reforms so that these guidelines should be put in place so that we can prevent these things from happening again. Because it's the same thing with the Constitution of Liberia. There's no restriction in terms of who can run. Except for your age and where you reside. We have to go to the morality of that individual. Because what I get from you right now, you are trying to tell us that this man is accused of a lot of stuff. But you being a man of the law, you never pointed to us that this man was convicted of anything. You mentioned accusation, and accusations are what they are. Until there can be a conviction, then we can say, well, this man is a convict. So unless there were provisions that barred him from running under your constitution, he's technically your chairman. He's technically.
Let me correct you. The Liberian law is clear, right? If you want to talk about the law, at this stage, we are not in the code of law. And I need to remind you that political issues are not justifiable. All right? Because political issues are not justifiable, we are guided by our moral conduct. And so, if you have a tarnished character, we will have to basically tell you to check and stop. Because what your tarnished character will do is to get expression on the entire institution. I gave you one simple example. I was coming to the example when you interrupt. I was talking about the tool, right? If we're going to repair Liberia, we need a good tool to repair Liberia. The last time we made a mistake. Liberians, out of their desperation to get rid of Mr. Samuel Joe because of his ethnicity, they took a guy who had also a checkered history, Mr. Taylor. He did something at the DSA. He went to America. He was behind bars in America. They took Mr. Taylor from behind bars, put guns in his hand, and said he was going to deliver a better life. We all can agree now that Mr. Taylor administration was an unmitigated disaster.
Yep.
Because it defies common sense that somebody who has all the criminality associated with him would have done better. Similar parity of analogy is what we are holding here. If you get a guy who has all these corruption cases involving him, are you really convinced that this fellow has made all the allegations? Why is he not operating beyond suspicion of any kind? Why is his name involved with all these corruption cases? Now, if you cannot operate beyond suspicion, then the best thing to do to preserve the integrity of the political institution, when you are accused of corruption, you clear your name. We're not saying Mr. Belete is no longer party. We're just saying Mr. Belete, as per the precedent in the party, since your name is not involved with a 10-year ban. Imagine, FIFA is an internationally respected body. Take it or leave it. An internationally respected body has placed a ban on this man following an investigated audit. He's been placed on ban for 10 years. What is the satisfaction in having a guy who is being placed on ban for 10 years? Clearly, I hear the argument that, he's taking a few. If you're taking a few good, but go take the appeal, step aside, take your appeal, clear your knee, and come back. That is the precedent in the party. Why should Mr. Belete be an exception? Why?
No, you see, this is not an exception. You just talk about law. Your party constitution is the ultimate guide for that organization. The constitution. What I'm encouraging you to do is, why don't you also advocate for some kind of amendment to the party's constitution so we can have exclusion in terms of who can vie for office? Because then when you apply,
is the thing, right?
So that next time someone apply, that person will go to step one, step two. We will
vet a vetting process, man. There's must be a vetting process.
Yes, we will vet this person in line with the constitution. Say, no, you cannot run because X, Y, Z as stated in the constitution of the party. I think that would be, because what happened now, this individual is all around the news. He's saying, you guys, I donate to him simply because you guys have some personal acts against him. I don't know about that. What I'm saying is, to fix that, we can advocate for constitutional amendment so that this thing can be avoided. That's all I'm saying.
But it is not an intelligent argument to say somebody has personal things against you. We are not the one who placed the 10-year ban on Mr. Belete. Mr. Belete, upon joining the party, he was aware, he had reason to know that there is an established practice. I mean, if you go to rule, you have to behave like the Romans. He comes to the party. There's an established practice and precedent in the party. When you are accused, we cannot predict who will be accused later on tomorrow. You don't know. You can be chairman today, tomorrow you get involved with corruption. We have to tell you to step aside and clear your knees. Nobody is a clairvoyant who will say, okay, a little at the way Mr. Benjamin, Fania, and myself talking, tomorrow you will see, so I got to pay. No, brother. The clarity is when Mr. Fania becomes president, and while serving as president, since you want to be president, you engage in conduct that are despicable and in violation of the Liberian law. The Liberian law will either impinge you. In our case, we can't impinge. What we do, we exercise moral authority over you and say, step aside. That's what we're doing with Mr. Ability. So he can't say we got something against him when we have done this to 2 other people earlier. You understand it?
Thank you.
So it's an intelligent argument.
Thank you. One of the things you said just now, you said you are guided by moral conduct. In other words, you want people of moral integrity to be the one in your leadership, so
Absolutely.
as the reputation of your party will not be tainted. But according to your release here, you said the release also said that Madam Clarice Davis-Jah, as acting chair, will administer the affairs of the party, while modalities are being worked up for an extraordinary section to elect a suitable candidate with morally acceptable CV. So while you are saying it, so let's talk about the former senator of Margibi County, who you are recommending should act, because you say you are guided by moral or conduct. Now let's see what we have here for her. Former Senator Clarice Davis-Jah was a former confidant of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I'm not saying anything is wrong. She flew with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf multiple times while serving as senator. She was instrumental in getting Charles Sirleaf confirmed as central bank governor. She received $5,000 for Charles Sirleaf in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf office by her own admittance in an audio tape that we have in our possession. All right. She was implicated in the RIA corruption scandal you talk about when you reference the very Musability. Madam Clarice Jah is also on record for opposing harsh punitive measures for war crime perpetrators. Now, you spoke against nepotism, right? This is Clarice Jah who aided and abetted Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to commit nepotism. She was the point man for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the Senate at the time. She said that Ellen was hesitant to appointing her son Charles, but she told Ellen, hey, we can make it happen. And she was able to move the ball politically at the Senate. Money changed hands. She even received a $5,000. And this is a woman you are recommending to be your chairperson because Liberty is morally bankrupt. Do you think this woman is clean morally using your moral conduct that you're talking about here?
You see, what you're doing is that you can't see a wood for the trees, and that is your problem. Madam Clarice Jah, you must have said some things over there. We are mere allegations. There is not, quote unquote, and let me be very clear, there is not an indictment, or there has not been an indictment that has been brought against Madam Clarice Jah based on those things that you have said. The stability, like I said to you at the earlier stages of this conversation, had a court indictment for tax evasion. So that's two different things we're saying here. Not because we want people to be obscene. Anybody can throw any allegation that doesn't even see the letter day and say, no, move on there. No. All right? There's got to be a process that you may be arranged. The stability, when he and his friend, when he was charged for tax evasion, he went to court before Judge Silver Mappe Morgan. He pleaded guilty. He said, yes, we didn't pay our taxes. We agreed we will pay. He paid some, he did not pay some again. After about 5 years, the court had to go for him again and rearrange him before the court. So this man has gone to court on the issue of tax evasion. Madam Sarida has not gone to any court anywhere in Liberia for any other allegation that you pick up from somewhere to play. You understand it? So that's
so your moral standard is your yardstick for moral standard is if the person have not gone to court, there's no indictment, something like that, then the person is in moral standing.
The thing is, we cannot be in the need of politics, tarnish people on any kind of loose and flimsy allegation from anywhere. So anybody can say, oh, Isaiah Jackson did it. So what? Where's the substantial evidence that is before a court of law for which I can choose myself or for which I will go on? You know our country. People say things every now and then. Do you know that right now, that's based on mere suspicion? Some of the CCP people have been condemning or condemning everybody in the government when they don't have one piece of evidence to show. Even over, you won't say over there. Anybody can come from there tomorrow and say, you took money from Musa Belete, so can't ask me questions. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, so we cannot just go on mere accusation. If you are arraigned before the court of law, if there is a competent body, like the FIFA, comes up with a quote-unquote a judgment against you, say you are banned for 5 years, you are expected to restitute 500,000. Then we have to come here and say, this is too much. The case they carry, where the DC, the Senator, okay, whatever I was telling and you told money, where did that come from? I'm seeing that for the first time, brother. Let me say that to you. So we gotta be careful how we poor people need in the public for no good reason or just to prove a point. We gotta be careful about that. We got to be careful about that because I can pick up any people now and say, oh, my man, Musa didn't trouble you behind the scenes. So that why you doing it? Why you doing it? Or Musa didn't trouble you behind the scenes. Why you inventing it? We can't do it. Let it be from an established institution that is recognized to be reputable. Then we can move ahead.
All right, Ben.
Yes. Excuse me. I just want to get something clear here because for me, this whole thing I'm dealing with it under the law. You emphasize it a few times over that you want the chairman to step aside. I want to understand something. What are the implications of a party whose chairman step aside? I mean, how do you see that? Is it for him to just resign, or when you say step aside means okay, we will leave the job temporarily, go to court, face the court, and come back? But
absolutely.
What happens to interim?
So the standard practice is when you are accused, as was done, and the precedent we follow here was the precedent with the Atty case, right? Because even if you go to the Supreme Court, why you go, you take 4 cases and compare the facts, if they are similar, then you go to 2 on it. So the precedent case here is the Atty case. When Mr. Atty was accused, or indicted for corruption, whatever you call it, Mr. Atty had to step aside. When he stepped aside, meaning he left the position temporarily. When he left the position, you have to appoint or find an acting chair. So an acting chair was holding on for Mr. Atty to clear his name before he could return back to the party. All right? So that's the practice. In this case, we are not saying Mr. Belete leave the party. We are just saying that Mr. Belete, at this stage, we leave the chairman to Madam Sarida. She will serve as the caretaker. When you go to FIFA and clear your name, then you clear your name from some of the other corruption allegations that are in the public eye, then at least you can come back, but you must have purged yourself already. So you can come back and continue with the chairmanship if you so desire then. So that's what we say. Plain and simple. Let's follow the processes. Let's follow the precedent in the party. Ben Sammy, they have to Ben Sammy. Why are we crying over Mr. Belete?
No.
Let me say this. This quote unquote, it depends on Mr. Belete in the problem that what people are doing. It's a takeaway from the opposition bloc. It's a takeaway from even the CPP that the Liberal Party is associated with. Why are we in the public here defending a man who has been internationally declared as a corrupt man and even locally declared as somebody involved in corruptible acts?
Anthony Jackson, I don't know when you say, why are you people or why are people, I don't know what are you. Oh, okay. Because my role here is to ask hard questions.
Yeah.
No, you do your
I'm
work.
asking questions and raising issues that people are raising.
No,
But then hold on.
I'm talking
Yes,
about
sir.
some of the CPP brothers. I see them. They have turned themselves into a slavish sycophant and
Right.
defending the stability desperately. And I said, this is wrong. You are taking away. You don't CPP member. So I'm not speaking to you direct. I just think people who are now, getting overly zealous and talking all over the country and trying to defend the stability. This is wrong.
No, sir.
Mr. Peterson has a corruption case to deal with. Clear his name, come back to the party. They are happening to other people. Why should Mr. Stability be the exception? Ask them when they come to us, you ask them.
No, sir. For me here, this issue is about the law. You are a lawman. The law would aid even the good people and the bad people equally. I mean, that's what the law does. But you see, you are, in your press release, you guys had a long list of all the accusations. But the title of your press release said Musa Ability must resign. The press release didn't say step aside. For me, if I was in your group,
you relinquish.
Huh?
The exact word we use in the press release is relinquish.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I was in your group, I won't tell him to step aside. I would not tell him to step aside. I would tell him to resign, because from what you just laced here, you almost paint him as irredeemable. You just said to us that this man went to a court of law and he was convicted. You just said that. So if we can have a convict for tax evasion being the head of our...
He said he pleaded guilty.
Yes.
Yes.
Guilty, at the end of that process, you are a convict. You are a convict. Because
we have, I'm not calling you up then. We had Musa Ability here, and he said that go ahead.
There is a nuance that we need to take into consideration here.
Okay.
The Judge Stephen Mappy Morgan, when he first heard the case was started 2010, it was started 2012. Mr. Ability and his lawyer pleaded, yes, guilty that they took the government, they needed to pay and they didn't pay. They were going to pay, they were going to settle the $190,800 case, and so there was a 6% interest. They started to pay. They did not complete the payment. They had to drag them back to court. This time around, there was just testing in the court, right? So the testing also ruled against instability and compounded the interest. Based on the compounded interest, the stability then went to the Supreme Court and filed a plea. So that is the fact, and we need to be clear. But the point I wanted to make is that at the end, the first stage, the stability agrees. So the only thing that is a question is the compounded interest. But the moral of the whole thing we're talking about is, if you are involved with such a tax evasion, when you clear your needs, beside the tax evasion, you have the FIFA team. When you clear your needs from FIFA is an international deceptive body. If they did not have substantial evidence, they will not place a 10-year ban against our credit. FIFA did a forensic audit, an investigative audit, as they were the LFD. They came down with their quote-unquote decision. That decision is on Mr. Ability. Mr. Ability is struggling under the weight of that decision to say he's appealing it. He said, Mr. Ability, we don't want you to be distracted. Let's take your quote-unquote step aside, renew the position, pay attention to the case. When you pass through the case here, then at least there will be public acceptability. You will come back, the Liberty Party will accept you. That is the decision. Let's go back. This is clean and simple. So there's nothing personal against Mr. Ability.
Attorney Jackson.
Jackson. I beg you, let me say what I'm answering, please. This is important. You guys accuse him of buying cars. Now, you guys accuse him in your press release that he bankrolled executive members and bought cars for them. Those are significant accusations. Why don't you guys also name and shame those people?
No, what the release clearly said was that the statement he made in the media. Okay, so we quoting him basically. He made some statement in the media indicating that you were buying cars for all the executive members and you were going on, and in fact, on one of the radio stations he said the richest man So we are saying that, look, even the mayor authorities have not been very helpful to him. It doesn't help his case. Because when you start talking about buying staff for executive members of the party, then there is a suspicion here, especially when you got corruption cases and you do not know the source of the money. Somebody could be using dark money, and you know dark money, the president in waiting, you know dark money. Dark money is the kind of money that we don't know the source of that money. You cannot bring dark money in the politics and use it, basically manipulate people, buy their consciences, and then you get to be chairman. Now you're talking about buying people cars. When you getting all these people, so we were just drawing attention that what he said in the public also did not help his case, or it's not helping his case. You understand? So we didn't bring the Ben Road. He just said, he said, I will buy the people car, and that as the first thing we do, we buy a car for them. Then after I think 2-3 days, you go see your car, also. So the question is, where is the man getting all the money from? They mentioned the rich man, they don't working with the RCI, which is not a good position. They have not even taken pay. I understand most of the people are even left. The station is almost stopping from doing now. The teammates that he has is also shrinking. So where is he getting all the money? So we have to encourage the American ambassador to pay some attention to see whether or not Liberian politicians are using that money to influence the national politics. And I think Mr. Benjamin Panu has to be concerned. Because tomorrow, when you participate in an election, and no boy goes to maybe Russia or somewhere else, very, very interesting, and get plenty of Russian money from there, better influence the politics, you will not even come close to their place. So you should be concerned now to make sure that the standard is in place. So that we can all of these things.
Thank you. Folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony C., your host. We have Anthony W. Jackson Jr. as our guest. He joins us from all the way Great Britain. And we are discussing the topic, the battle for the soul of the opposition Liberty Party. Anthony Jackson, you said something that has now become a precedent in the Liberty Party. Ben Savin took a loan, he couldn't pay it. Up to now, there's no record whether he has paid the money in full. You talk about Israel Akinsanya, he had issue with the Lone Star, I believe, or one of those GSN complaints. Even when it came to that one, the way you address it, you were very soft with your language. I know you, a man of tough language. You just said it was not too good there. You couldn't use the very terms that you are using ability here, but he was found guilty of corruption there. My question, Anthony Jackson, is now you have the two leaders in your party that you have to ask to step aside because of these issues they had. Well, can you go on record on behalf of the Liberty Party that this individual will never serve any position in your party until these issues for which you ask them to step aside are resolved? Is that something you can promise here? Because I don't want to see Ben Savi being appointed by your party or serving in your party for any position when his state has not paid this money, and the same can be said by Israel Akinsanya. Is that something Liberty Party will stand for? Will you ring this bell that you are ringing today?
I am hopeful that they will do the right thing, and the party will continue to be on the right course. This is a political institution. I can speak for this best. I am raising my voice because it is often said, I think it's not becoming a history. All it takes for evil to triumph is for goodness to do nothing.
Certainly.
I think we are doing something. We hope that they will step aside in adherence to the tradition of the party. We do what is proper and needful to clear their needs, and then they can come back and be accepted. Whether another executive position, so we can follow their issue. But to say, Mr. Jackson, put your leg on the chopping board because you raised the capital player in Liberty Party, brother. Not sure I want to do that. Because politics is dynamic, based on the conversation I'm keeping. I don't know what decision the party will take against me. People are autocratic in their attitude. There are people who do not take easy or take kindly to criticism. Because I'm criticizing the stability today, or because I'm talking about the right thing that is done in Liberty Party, the stability has hired an army of people, most of them on Facebook, causing me, causing my wife, who they have not even seen before, some of them lying that, I beat my wife before my wife was telling me, I say, don't waste your time with those boys. You know, so I mean, it's an interesting country that we have. Every time you stand up for right, you draw unnecessary criticism. People take umbrage. Are you talking the right thing? How do we expect a better Liberia to emerge when people are speaking truth and they don't get, the endorsement of even the people who are involved? If we accept today, if we do not practice internal democracy in Liberty Party, if we do not adhere to best standard in Liberty Party, you think if we were to get power tomorrow, we will be able to implement or put in place best standard in the country, brother? You better think so. I think it should be encouraging us to stay on this trajectory. I think you join this course and share the stability. We think the newspaper articles we are reading, the report we got from FIFA, we don't make the Atty Jackson boss and the other bosses. So you see that if Liberia is going to move forward, we need people who at least will come to public office with their integrity intact. That's it.
Yeah,
Mr. Jackson, then before you come in.
Started at home, right? Just started at home. We started in Liberty Party. When we get presidential power, the Liberian folks not worry about us because while we're being president in Liberty Party, it is others the one who deliver to the people. So you should join on board, you should encourage us so that we do the right thing in our party. So when we get power, the people will not have much to worry about.
Mr. Jackson, before my partner can come in, we read a news article that talked about Mr. Ability procuring some cars for the Liberty Party. Where do you stand on that? He pursued some cars for the Liberty Party.
The question I'm concerned with, which I think is indicated in the release signed by not Atty Jackson alone, signed by Bishop Lemuel Bayou, one of the co-chair of the Liberty Party and Friends of Brunswick, and also signed by Mr. Aruna Fala, who is the chair. One of the things we raised was to caution against the use of that money to influence the national politics. I will be pleased if the stability will be transparent as to the sources of the money we use to buy those cars. That's the question I'm concerned with. I mean, we're talking about accountability. We want to check the government. Those who want to check the government cannot be doing the same thing that the government is doing. We have to set the better standard from the government for the people to see us as marketable or as acceptable. All right? So the stability can disclose to Newton, your journalists, and if you follow the development, the sources of that money he used, how many cars he produced, where they were produced, we will be very happy. We'll be very happy. But until that, I am concerned about where did Mr. Ability get those money from, and how did he get those cars, and why is he doing it? Even in our election law, you know what I say? They say you cannot use the guy's limit of money you can spend in an electoral process for a presidential candidate. All right? So they may bring in all this money, volume of money or whatever, and bring in all this money. You don't know where the money coming from. Is it possible to ask him, brother?
And there are people in your party that are accepting this money, according to Mr. Ability himself. All right. He said Darius Dillon accepted campaign funding from him in 2019 and also 2020. He funded his campaign, and I was listening to you quite clearly. You are a very eloquent guy. You said, well, we want to know where the money is coming from. So you are suggesting that if the money comes from a very good source, then Liberty Party should use the cars from the guy they don't want? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if the money is credible money, I mean, anywhere around the world, if the money is credible, it's not dodgy, it's not from any money laundering source, obviously it will be used. But here is the point. Here's the thing about talking about Dillon. The thing with Dillon is the pretense that I don't see. Dillon is my friend, and I like him as a brother. But Dillon is too pretentious. Dillon carried himself as though he was just an king's agent. But when you come to check his record, he'll be a king for king. Here is the man who called himself right. He is aware of the challenging his ability in facing the corruption allegation. He's going there and taking money from the cover of darkness. Nobody knew until Ability announced it. Mr. Dillon used skin on the Liberian people. He said, oh, my campaign is challenged. I don't have any money. Oh, you can't help me. muscle bar boy. He start picking your pocket, not knowing that Dylan, was in heavily financed by Mr. Ability's dark money. This is strange. Why are you doing this, Mr. Ability? If you are the light, why are you going to the darkness to steal money? The Dylan did the same thing again with what? The pro tempore of the Liberian Senate. The man
about you?
The man was corrupt. Dylan condemned the man in the day. Oh, the man corrupt, blah, blah, blah. But by the time we realized Dylan had gone to the man house in the dark, under the cover of darkness, the man got angry and in public he said he gave him Dylan in the tomb or what 15,000 or something like that. Yeah. Dylan could not say anything. He was uncharacteristically silent. This is the man. So, I mean, for me, I think we should be careful how we come to. The PDP is not doing very well. That's why the Liberian people are family hospitals. You check the man has record, they be care. Dylan worked along with T.C. Gould. You know who T.C. Gould was? T.C. Gould was the solicitor general during the Taylor regime. Dylan was a special assistant. When they killed Samuel Sey Doki, Chancellor ATU killed Samuel Sey Doki. Dylan and T.C. Gould were input and defending that action. Chancellor, when Chancellor administration put Chancellor Tiawan Gonglo and others in jail, torture them in jail, Dylan and T.C. Gould, Dylan as special assistant for helping T.C. Gould to argue that it was group of Taylor and his people to torture people. And this is a man who coming and pretending as though he's somebody clean and everybody dancing behind him. And I keep telling people, the more we dance behind these people who are pretentious, the more hole we dig for ourselves. We have to be clear. We have to scrutinize people. We have to know their history before we jump behind them. Or else, the Liberian people will be disappointed again.
Well, I want to say thank you. I think you raised a very good point. That was in line with what I was going to ask you, because Anthony said earlier on that this whole thing was detailed. But you see, all of the information that you that you put out here today, I want you to go maybe 2 steps ahead of yourself. Normally, Dylan, I want you to hold them accountable publicly. I want you to hold them accountable in terms of their integrity lapses. You see, I mean, what you just said to me now is shocking. But I don't want you to only use this show. You have to also go out there and tell these people that, no, this is an institution that have integrity as a bedrock. And we have some actors that are not fair. You have to expose them. So please, thank you for the information so far, but I want you to do more. Nyomli needs to be held accountable. Nyomli, because this whole thing was orchestrated. It was orchestrated.
I agree. And I say to you, and I agree with you, and there's evidence to show that. Not only the arrest issue, the chairman who got basically harassed, Mr. Steve Zago, also a citizen, he got harassed. He said, look, I don't want any noise, I don't want to get in a fight. I have the military here, I got to pay attention to my territory and my region. So I'm not going to fight over message. You're putting me on too much pressure. He has to basically get 2 out of the 2. Jacob Smith, a founding member and the Secretary General. Jacob Smith has been Secretary General for 2 different conventions. This time around, Jacob Smith was interested in even wanting to be chairman. But because of the financial violence that Mr. Ability was eluding, you know, Jacob has to move out also. So we are going to basically clean up that part. We are going to work at it intelligently. Because here is Dylan, right? Dylan tried to help Musa Ability. Let me do it. Dylan tried to help Musa Ability. When the news broke, you know what Dylan posted? Dylan posted, he said, oh, you know, the man I saw, and on the way, he was giving the man to Paul. All right?
Yeah.
When, because he said, oh, the man I saw, so on the way to Liberia Party, he will convert the man to Paul. When Dylan realized that Mr. Ability was not happy with that acquisition, Dylan pulled back the statement and said, oh, you know, the statement I made was not in reference to Ability, I was just writing my own thing. What that says about Dylan is that Dylan is gutless. He doesn't have to talk. And if you want to be a respected political person or a politician, you must have guts. You must be able to stand up with courage and say, look, I mean, even though you are my best friend, even though I like you as a brother, but there is a standard in this party, and we have to all abide by the standard. And the standard is when you are accused of something like corruption, it's just a start. More than that, I, Mr. Dillon, I'm not carrying myself as a life. And so, on the basis that I'm carrying myself as a life, I don't think I will be prepared to provide any justification for the conduct that you are involved with, also the thing that you are involved with. But they not do that. You start to find a plausible way to explain the issue of corruption. You cannot explain away corruption. Corruption is dangerous. And anybody who enjoys corruption is as well dangerous for society. And they don't need to stand against that. If you want us to take him credibly, if you want us to respect him, there got to be consistency in his advocacy. And the authenticity of any advocacy is what? Consistency. You can't be talking, say, oh, the people in the Senate corrupt. When you say your friend Belete got problems, you say, no, man, ain't no Belete that poor. You were soon changed to, he saw, you were soon changed to poor. Come on, man. This is a childish maneuver. That's basically a character of a panty man. All right? That's a fancy man character. You can't do that. The standard got to be what? There. It got to be consistent. The consistency is the hallmark of genuine advocacy. But you don't have to us. He's showing himself. He's showing the phone voter for him. He's showing his party. And it is a crying scene for the Liberty Party.
Thank you. That was the voice. Well, that is the voice of Anthony Agze W. Jackson Jr., funny spokesman of the opposition Liberty Party. We are discussing the topic, the battle for the soul of the opposition Liberty Party. He just listed something there about Darius DeLong. He doesn't hold back. He said consistency is the hallmark of genuine advocacy for the betterment of Mama Liberia. Talking about Darius DeLong. DeLong was with Ellen and Robert Sirleaf and got extraordinary scholarship, accepted funding from Liberty for his election 2 times in 2019 and 2020. Helped to get Liberty elected on web battle as Liberty Party chairman. He apologized for taking $605,000 for ratifying the stimulus package. That is your DeLong, who is sitting backpedal, pour a foot in his mouth and apologize. And some of you are calling him a light. I have no hesitation to talk to you about this in this manner, because our country has been butchered for so long. We can't have people howling in the cover of. So this guy went to Abbott chair in the middle of the night while he was still bashing all citizens and got money from him. That's how he got elected. As though that was not enough, he went to the very ability guy. And again in 2020, and Yombly Kankatu got money from Liberty, ability, according to ability. These people sold the position to Liberty, to ability, and now they are pretending as though they didn't do anything wrong. But my crime with Jackson and his team that calling for this guy removal, your demand to clean up your party should include DeLong.
Yes.
Should include Yombly Kanka. These are the people that sold this position to the highest bidder in the party. You should call for them to step aside as well. Are you saying Liberty ability is the guy? Folks, let's bring in some comments here. Benjamin Kofa-Fanier. Folks, you can also start calling now. Let me see if I can put the phone number. Get some water. Get some water. Get some water. Let me find the phone number and put it on the screen. And then after that, I will go to the reading of comments. So there you have it. This is the phone number for you to call, folks. Let me bring in some comments here quickly. Let's see. Mr. Cisse Goya writes, Axel W. Jackson Jr., I can't wait to hear you teach. And he is teaching here. This is from Smith Dawia. Flip Flapper greeted Axel Jackson. My man, they're going after you here. Patrick Kennedy. The audio from Anthony Jackson is very low and not too clear. Yes, we tried to correct that. I think it got better over time. Axel Jackson is more of a party denier than ability. Work for corrupt Ellen Regine. Jackson need to be here to listen to these comments. People are going after him. All these guys want to play politics. They can't be trusted. This one is from Moses Barkley. Post some from Axel Jackson. It got better a little bit. He made some effort there. Steve Waxon, right, is ability on an investigation area. Who is investigating him? I hope Anthony Jackson is taking note. Anthony Williams, right? Musa Belete is a self-proclaimed richest Liberian, so everyone will come for his wealth in different political dimensions. Watch and see. And we are watching, my friend. Martin Brown writes, how can Mr. Jackson reconcile his outbursts against the LP when he served as deputy minister in the Ellens administration? Because I can recall Isaac calling the late Councillor Bronsky a creeping dictator. That waiting to a creeping dictator that is waiting to explode when given state power. All right, and this is the man he's saying that who was the hallmark of democracy, if I can paraphrase him. Steve Waxman again, Mr. Charles Bronson, it should be do not give him Mr. Musa Belete official position. Please write these comments better so that it can be easier for me to read. Don't make it difficult for yourself as well. We don't want you in our party. You are a big traitor. Go back to your criminal Mandan Salib. They are coming after Jackson here. Dennis writes, if that's your argument, Mr. Jackson, I will ask you, why was Mr. Samunka qualified to run for the Senate and he even won? This one is from Wetton Ketter. That's how it should be done. Let me see here from Waka Bakana. I am not in support of Mr. Musa H. Belete chairmanship, but I'm concerned about your misbehavior towards the late well-learned councillor. You have no voice in our party. We don't want your advocacy. And the poor S to S, my man, it seems to be the people are pushing you away from the party you help to establish. James again, is it a crime? It is a crime to accept, should be accept money from anyone for election? He's asking the question. This is a well-known sedition. Somebody I know that is Mancave Lever Madison. Anthony Isaac Jackson is a national treasure, a judicial scholar, a prolific orator, and a fierce advocate for social justice. I respect his ability to speak truth to power. His consistent outcry on the excesses of Liberty Party is greatly appreciated. My man, can you imagine a sedition is giving you some flowers here, my man? This one is from, I don't know how you pronounce the name, Bakuba there. Integrity matters for our presidency. Sorry, good friend, if I butcher your name right there. Another one from Madison again. I think people should show due deference to the learned councillor and debate the issue. But man, few comments. Your response.
Yes. So we will start with the issue of party discipline, because I think that the person has picked up here. If somebody say, "Oh, Mr. Jackson, party discipline," if you disagree at some point in time with the party, what I can say to that person, political party is not a court. All right, to say, "Oh, this is a court." Nobody is supposed to disagree with the leader of this court. No. Political parties are institutions that bring different people together with different views, and there got to be divergence of views and disagreement to encourage these political parties. So if you say, because I disagree with, Peter Addy, Councillor Bronsky before, and because of my disagreement with Councillor Bronsky before, I am not disqualified to speak on the issue of sacrifice and to reference the standard that we set in the party and we continue to abide by. No, that's a wrong analogy. See, that analogy, anybody with a modicum of intelligence will not make that kind of argument. But here is the thing. The ability that this man is trying to speak for, the ability in reckless disregard to the party's mandate. He went and endorsed the CDC of President Riyadh. There's an allegation that Mr. Belete bust the party off the war CDC teacher. If I think we started the argument that there are the CDC teacher wearing on Mr. Belete and on the newspaper and went there and pledged support to President Riyadh. Now, the desire of Mr. Belete to see against the party's mandate to endorse Mr. Riyadh was not for a lawful reason. It was because Mr. Belete wanted to pursue his personal agenda. And so when he went to the CDC and found out that Mr. Weir or President Weir was basically not, showing his line or some of the recommendations he was making to Mr. Weir, that they were not in line with his vision or his vision for the party of his country. He declined Mr. Ability Gambit. Now Mr. Ability is frustrated, and because he's frustrated, he's spinning around in Mororo and one called looking for political party to buy. So when you talk about party discipline, I am party discipline. I never left the party at any time. I remained a party person until I was appointed in government. So discipline, yes, I am a party discipline person. Disagreement, yes, disagree. The political party will disagree. So the other issue is almost like the two issues the person is, right? The Senate yesterday on the issue of education. Let me say this. If you read political history and political dynamics, you will agree with me that my disagreement is not anything strange. For example, one of the persons who is respected or reputed or venerated in Liberian politics as a follower of multi-party democracy was Gabriel Bacchus Martin, right?
Yeah.
There were times that Gabriel Bacchus Martin and some of his friends who established the political party in the United States, they disagree. They believe that Bacchus is carrying the party in different directions. They believe that Bacchus was working with almost all the presidents that would take power in the country. And so they disagree. Even some of his closest friends, some of his closest friends, like Dr. Famula and others, they disagree. But when Bacchus died, everybody came together. I myself was there. The marched with Bacchus there. We accorded him a superior, told him that he was our hero, and we respected him and accorded him that respect. So that was happening everywhere around the politics. I can take you to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has a stunning example. Emerson Mnangagwa was a lawyer soldier. So Gabriel Robert Mugabe to stay in the struggle. Mugabe sent him to law school. So you mean lawyer? When Gabriel Mugabe decided in his aging years to place his wet Grace Mugabe at the end of the party in the country, Emerson Mnangagwa disagreed. The military wanted to eliminate him. He fled to South Africa. While in South Africa, he managed to talk to a few friends in the military. The few friends he spoke with moved Gabriel Mugabe overthrew him from power in a respectful manner. Mugabe fled to Singapore. While in Singapore, Mugabe passed away. When Mugabe passed away, a body was flown to Zimbabwe. And I'm saying to you, he was accorded a befitting burial by Emerson Mnangagwa. He went on national radio and announced this man is our hero. You see, the point I'm trying to graph here is that I disagree with Dr. Johnson at one point in time. But my disagreement will not prevent me from according him the last respect when Chancellor Johnson passed away. And if you want me to reference whether he passed away, I don't want to get into the disagreement, but the disagreement was about him bringing his nephew, Atty, to chair the party. I thought it was not proper, so I spoke out. He got angry, he disagreed, the disagreement went to the public. But the point I'm making is, when somebody passes away, you cannot reflect on the negative. It is not civilized to do that. You have to reflect on the positive conduct of the president. And so, once he passed away, I took the defective funeral. I went on my knees. Some of the people who today want to take over the party leadership, when Johnson passed away, they could not move. Belete was still angry when Johnson died. He could not move Johnson. He could not even go on the knees to move the man. And today he wants to chair party, especially when he wants to CDC. Why you don't stay with CDC, brother? What's going on?
Thank you. Thank you, Atty. Jackson. Folks, in cyberspace, it's about time for us to take your calls. The phone number is right on the screen right there. I see that we have two of them already. Let's see this one right here from the man Opa Dwalu. Mr. Dwalu, I think you are live. Quickly to the issue, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing me home. I'm sorry. It's a pleasure listening to the show. My question is to Mr. Jackson. And if you're listening to me now, can you hear me loud and clear, sir?
Yes, sir, Chief. Yes, sir, Chief.
Okay, we can hear you. Mr. Jackson, just listening to Mr. Jackson, if I didn't know who he was, I would say, well, Liberia is making a turn and pivoting to a new democratic push. But here's the issue. My question to Mr. Jackson, I would really appreciate the answer to this question. It seems Mr. Jackson knows everything that's wrong with Liberia. What is needed? What is needed to shift the narrative in the country for the betterment of the country. But it seems when these guys get in power, I don't know, because most of them cannot make a living outside of government, or they cannot earn any kind of income. My question to you, Mr. Jackson, what causes you to lose your morality once you become a government official? You lost any ethics. You will say things not promoting the country, but a lot of protecting yourself to just maintain a job. What causes people to do that? For me, personally, I see a government job that they play. A lot of people like you, when you get in government, you forget about all the ethics that you preach about right now. What causes that? Is there something in government that forces you guys to lose all your morality? Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Jackson, please keep that one. Let's take this other one from the man, Waiton Keta. Mr. Keta, you are live.
Thank you, Anthony. Well, I'd like to say hi to your two studio guests. I'd just like to applaud Mr. Jackson. I really don't know him. It's my first time hearing him on social media, but I think he spoke true to power. Okay. I think we all talk show hosts, Liberians that want to see our country move forward. We always talk about integrity. What are we talking against or in favor? We always talk about integrity. I think we should commend him for speaking integrity, whether against his own party, but the fact that Liberia, this is the first and foremost thing we need in our country. The integrity issue is so bad. We turn to love people when they're in our favor, in our corner, whether they are criminals, whether they are murderers. Once they're in our corner, we shield them. And I think Mr. Jackson coming out to point those things. You understand? One of the things that really bothered me, and in the Liberty Party, I heard Ben Sandy, justifying. I heard a lot of people from the Liberty Party justifying the action of Musa Belete. Liberians did not indict Musa Belete. It was the international FIFA. It's an international organization. And if you have this individual with this kind of something thinking over him, why would you want to make him or leader of your party or political institution? Tomorrow, the Liberty Party may as well be the leading or government in the country. How can you justify Liberia being clean of corruption when you have corruption charges taken on its head of an international group? I think we all, regardless of where we find ourselves, we should speak about these things. We should speak about it because we want Liberia to move forward. Remember, it was because of corruption that we murdered our president, William or Tolbert. We killed him, we said, because of rampant corruption.
Thank you, Mr. Keta.
So we got to, Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the insight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm humble.
Yeah. Mr. Jackson, let me take this final caller, and then we'll come back to you guys and wrap this up. Caller from Denver, Colorado. Your phone number ends in 4342. Quickly to the issue. You have a minute.
How you doing, sir? Thank you, Anthony. My name is Faith Bobby Capson, and I call for Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
I really commend your two studio guys. Firstly, let me greet my dear brother, Atty Jackson. It's been a long time. How you doing, dear brother?
Well, I'm doing very well, brother. Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I say you spoke to the issue, and I one of the person who continue to follow Atty Jackson. And reason I admire Atty very passionate issues. He have always spoke to issues relevant and imperative to Liberia. He have always been there to say this is right, this is wrong. And regardless of how you feel, regardless of who you are, Atty will always tell you what is right, what needs to be done. And that's why I admire that Atty. Atty spoke to the issues. Liberty Party wants state power. You can't be coming to state power and be bringing Musa Belete to us. We'll not allow that. We'll not agree to that. So that is the issue. And I'm so disappointed in Senator Dino and in the lives of Senator Yombi Kanga. Because the father 1 year, they're speaking at Apple State, they're bringing things to power, they're bringing it right, and they bring Musa Belete. And Musa Belete is still another person to chair Liberty Party. Liberty Party who value for national power. Is that why you drink a weed and you're progressive? And you want us to take that still? I'm disappointed.
Thank you.
I'm disappointed in them. Thank you very much, and thank you. I say have a good day.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, allow me, let me take the last one, then we'll call it.
No problem.
Yeah. Caller with phone number ending in 0616. I think the name is Alfonso. So quickly to the issue, you have a minute.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the platform, and thank you for seeing the senior man there in studio. For a long time, I haven't seen him. The last time I saw him was when he was taking a appointment at the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Okay.
I think Mr. Atty Jackson is started with his view. And first of all, I'm Alfonso calling from New Jersey. And I think Mr. Jackson is started with his view. I interacted with Mr. Jackson on many occasions, very astute young brother. And the issue that he's putting forth is actually in according. I only disagree with him on the note when he tried to make CDC to be an institution that can just accept anyone, be it with bad character or reputation. And what happened is that the CDC affiliation with any person or any political icon was simply because it is a party for the people and by the people. So you come into the party, the CDC was not actually try to say, no, we don't want you. But if you come to the party, you have to abide by the numbers. Even if after Jackson decides to come to the CDC party, we are going to give him the opportunity to serve in that party, except what he proves to not be the kind of reputable, individual that the party needs to see in the party. But I think Mr. Jackson is right to speak against the issue of Musa Belede. If Musa Belede has a character that is not a character to represent the institution that he actually Jackson came from, the Democratic Party, he has the right to come out and pledge that. There are people that are speaking out for the ills of other people. I think he's started with his views.
Thank you, Alfonso.
In that manner. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, so go ahead very quickly. I start with Alfonso, since he's the last person today. Alfonso from New Jersey. I know I did not mention the CDC and the directory, right? All that I tried to say was that Mr. Belede, he went to the CDC. He went basically to pursue his personal agenda. The CDC people did not accept his personal agenda. They denied him his personal agenda. So he was not turning around in Monrovia or spinning around in Monrovia like a corporate ticket looking for the political party to buy. So I'm not being directed about the CDC. I'm just basically saying that was what he did. But even if we were to talk about the CDC, and I used the CDC in one of my arguments, right? I said, the people in the CPC, they criticized the CDC for putting Mr. Ellis Saleh on his ticket. But the same people who criticize CDC for putting Ellis Saleh on his ticket are the same people today taking a knee and applauding Mr. Belede. This is half-for hypocrisy. You can't do it. Mr. Ellis Saleh said you trying to criticize him, corruption King Kong, no co-convicted him. So why are you calling him corruption King Kong? Why are you condemning CDC for putting on tickets? You are not convicted by any court. So I'm saying, let's be even-handed. The opposition cannot be playing double standard and hypocrisy. It's just unfair. It's just disgraceful and disgracefully speaking. So that's the point there. The brother who said the issue of integrity is a problem in the country, I agree with that point. What is happening in the country is we have become victims of political politicization. You know, you go on the football field, if you for Man U, you don't care what are the Man U men playing far. All you want goal. If you for Arsenal, whether the Arsenal men play him for to score the goal, then you say Thierry. This is our dynamic. People who are in CPP or who are in Labour Party, they think they have an obligation to defend the stability, even though they are aware that the conduct the stability is exuding is unacceptable in civil society. But they because the stability men, they're wearing Belede t-shirt, they're wearing Belede cap, or they're wearing Labour Party t-shirt. Because you're wearing Labour Party t-shirt, or they're wearing CPP t-shirt, you cannot see anything wrong with the CPP. It's a problem. That is what I call the problem of politicization. It's not original thought. It is a thought expressed by a guy called James O'Brien.
So, I'm just saying that we got to get away from that. The issue of political tribalism. Oh, them men, that McKinsey man, so I got to defend, even though I know the man corrupt. Oh, them men, that Basel man, so he steal money, sir, I got to stand with him. Oh, them men, that Matingo man, steal money, I got to stand with him. Oh, them men, that they kind of man, he steal money, I got to defend him. You see, this is what is destroying our country, brother. We got to call a shovel a shovel. You can't call shovel a weapon. That's not right. The Chinese people say the beginning of wisdom is calling things by their proper names. If somebody is corrupt or engaging corruptible conduct, you must tell you, my man, this is doing here wrong. Try to do something different. Try to clear your needs. All right? So that's what it could. I was talking about the other brother who said, why when most of the people go to government, they don't lose their quote-unquote their plurality. Again, I'm not too sure about that. One of the things that we need to be very firm on is the power of the president. And I'm saying the presidency because I don't want somebody to say, I'm trying to put forward on the people in power now. But the Constitution of Liberia provides that people work at the will and pleasure of the president. And because of the will and pleasure of the president, there are times the Senate doesn't carry on rigorous scrutiny, right? So they confirm people. Now, some of the people who know they confirm, you come to realize you have to. And you understand it? Recent time, there was a case with my friend. I call everybody friend and brother because you do value my friend, you do this my friend. Everybody my friend, brother. The only thing just lay on me. Our friend, Wambo DK. Wambo DK was appointed. We saw the situation there. Later on, we realized we have to. So, that power, you have to encourage whoever is prepared to use that power in a way that the mansion or the presidency will carry out excessive scrutiny of people before they put them in government. The other thing about the morality in government is coming raised is maybe it may not be a major morality question, it could be just public perception. People in this country, most people believe that when you're in government, you roll. Whatever you do, you roll. You explain yourself, you roll. So we have to work also on public perception. Public perception. People in the opposition doing everything to demonize those in power. Anything about anybody in power, they elevate it, they propagandize it, so they make the public believe that government officials are there all wrong. So, when we get away from that, we get a better picture. So, one way to public perception, the other one is how we use the role and pleasure of the president. If we can deal with all of those, soon and very soon, Liberian people will start to respect the people of the government. That's how I see it. But government, there are people in government who are very decent people. Not everybody, but when people go to government, they go to serve. Public service, it's a problem. When you go to public service, you're not going to public service to get rich. But the public perception is when you go into public service, you don't get rich. So, for example, if the president were to appoint you to Ministry of Finance, oh, the man, the guy will do great job.
Well, what they tell you, the man chopping open?
Hey, man, they carry to people, oh, that's already lucrative. So when you start in your mind, when you start picturing this position to be very lucrative, the next thing I will come, whether the person does bad or not, you just say, my man, that man like a raw man. They're just taking all the money from people. So that is the problem. We got to reduce the public perception, the negative perception of the officials of government. When we can work on ourselves to reduce that perception, at least we'll get that courage. It will come naturally to us alone. Yeah, let's respect the other person. But in Liberia, if you don't know the man personally, to be somebody you will assume that he's corrupt. I don't even know it's bad.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. That is a fair point. That this thing that everybody in government corrupt, but we also know that when people get to government, in no time they start maxing where we see mansions around.
There's temptation.
The temptation is there. So the public perception, we have to work on it. But many of those who have gone to government, have been able to validate these perceptions. We see the lives of Koji, McGill. These guys are having mansions in no time. You know, so you can't blame the public too. Mr. Benjamin Kofa, you know, what's your take?
Yeah, just to say something. I mean, there are 2 points I want to raise in terms of the last thing he talked about. Dillon last year, last year, Dillon declared his assets are having less than $4 US. Less than $4 US. Just a few weeks ago, he declared another asset where he had almost $126,000. So there's no way Liberians will not think that these people are there to amass wealth. They don't declare asset that he had $3. That was the exact amount, $3 in his account. A couple of weeks ago, he said he had 126,000. So there's no way, there's no way that Liberians would view this thing as I mean, in another life. Simply put, people seek offices to amass wealth. That's the base. That is the last line people do. But let me say one thing. You know, Ansu raised something about integrity. I will tell you this. I would say 99% of the leadership in Liberia, that includes George Weah himself, they have zero integrity. There's zero integrity. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So it's not that they go to these jobs and they lose their integrity. They had none while going in. They had none. They just trick their way in, and they just say the thing that other people want to hear. But they had no integrity. There was just zero integrity there, because power don't change a man. Power only reveal who a man actually is. Power don't change it. It just reveal this guy's true self. So these people have zero integrity, and we should be brave. We should be bold enough to say it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, folks, we will get back to Anthony Jackson. I was coming to you, Anthony Jackson. We have exhausted the allotted time. We don't want to keep you too long.
No problem.
Mr. Jackson, the Liberian people are in economic and political despair. Socially, they are in despair. You are a student of political science. You are a social scientist. You are a man of the law. You've been in the trenches before. I saw you on the campuses of the University of Liberia. Talk to your people. They are down politically. Close us.
I mean, I have to say to the Liberian people, Liberia's future is pregnant with golden possibilities. And we will arrive at that. And maybe before I make that point, let me say that I agree, in fact, with some of the things you said about, sometimes public officials are themselves, not helping the situation. Because the way they put on to amass well overnight is basically continuing. I think you got a point there, but we need to be very careful so we don't cast a pressure on everybody. We want everybody. We have to be careful. With that being said, the bigger future is threatening with golden possibilities. The way we will get to that future is for us to independently and impartially examine people, scrutinize people who want to go to public office. We got to be very clear about that. We got to do away with this quote-unquote politician. All because I think CDC, so everything CDC does is good. No better. All because I think Liberty Party, even though my party is doing something terribly wrong, I still got my scarf on my neck. I'm a Liberty man, so I'm not going to criticize. It's wrong. But when we do that, we are not going to deliver injustice. Then we refuse to scrutinize people better. We're not delivering a better Liberia. And what the president says, I admire Atty Jackson. Indeed. Maybe my weakness has been tender. And let's be frank and honest with you. The Liberty Party want to do things. Yesterday, disagree with Brentford. I disagree with Brentford. I made it public. I said, look, the way we come, when we started this party, this is not what we anticipated. Government, the leader didn't have it right. I said it. I went my way. When I came here, I believe my job was training for 5 years. When they wanted to move me, I said, no, I'll be this. I went to post. The post said, there are two, not any. Come back home. I said, no problem. Today, I see the ability doing something that I found very disturbing. I speak it out. Well, that's me. That's me. So, I think that people to do that and do that with fairness. They should not be scaring away the people who are essential. It's coming in the day, it's talking plenty, in the darkness, it's doing terrible things. Let somebody think because of people. They Now the quote unquote, the ruling party people are marching well over there. Our own senator who declared no for our over 1 year plan is there, less than 1 year there, the money here can. How do you get it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So these are things that we should be concerned. Let this stop on both people in opposition, because we should be even more difficult on opposition because their government is waiting. If they do not bring about fair value, the value that we all believe in, integrity, credibility, transparency. If they do not believe in those things, we must deny them. Because when it comes to power, it will be the thing that Brent Bodewa, John Farmer's way on John Red, the things and seven. So we have to do our best. We should critical. We do not run politics on the basis of political tribalism. We do not run politics on the basis of political qualification. We run politics on the basis of objective teaching. If we do that, we get good leaders. We good leadership, we deliver Liberia so it's better future. That's what I think.
Thank you. Anthony Jackson read that with his closing remarks. There are a few wordings in that song about our country that said, this glorious land of liberty. I want to see that glorious land of liberty in my lifetime. I have not seen it here. I can't oppose in Incre Town, trying to go to school on a university campus. I wanted to see that glorious land of liberty. I did not see that. And then I came to the foreign land. Then I saw another glorious land. But it comes with a price. And then I reflect and I come to realize, indeed, that land is glorious, except that it's being badly managed. Will Jackson help us along the way to manage this glorious land of liberty? I want to live in that land. Because when I build my house, no one comes knocking on my door. I want to live in that land. That land is called Liberia. And that is why we got a song that says, we are all Liberians. And that song is taking us home. Anthony Jackson, thank you. Benjamin Kofa Fania, presidential hopeful 2023. We wish you well, brother. Politics can be vicious. I hope we get it all together.
Thank you so much, here. Thank you so much, here. And thank you, Ben. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.